Good morning. I am grateful for this honor to be with you graduates for many years of hard labor for you, and I'm sure many more years of sacrifice for your parents. Thank you, Dr. Parrott, and thank you to the Board of Directors, Belhaven University, for this incredible honor. I am still incredulous that I am standing here before you as an artist in a Christian institution. You are making a statement that the arts are fundamental to the core of Christian higher education, or maybe even higher education in general. The arts are not a peripheral luxury for the elite few, but it is a cultural necessity of how a civilization is to be defined and how our humanity is to be restored. The arts, like the spring flowers that we take the aromas in this morning, the arts bring the aroma of the new. I have just returned from Japan, where I saw firsthand the enormous devastation from 3/11. The massive earthquake, the tsunami, and the ongoing nuclear disaster. I visited a small fishing village of Ishinomaki in northern Japan. A beautiful coastal town simply swept away by the series of tsunamis. My friend Emiko, who grew up in Ishinomaki, now finds her home that she grew up in gone. Her parents' business gone, though they themselves were spared, having been in Tokyo at the time. As I walked about, the aroma, the stench of death filled the air as I tried to take in the devastation. I saw the rice fields, inundated with salt water now, fishing vessels in the middle of the streets, trucks still floating in the rivers. Even after a month, as volunteers with masks and orange overalls are still trying to help residents salvage what they can, helping one house at a time. One 17-year-old girl whose parents and her grandparents were swept away by the tsunamis, returned home to find nothing there, nothing worth salvaging. She came to the house of prayer that I was visiting. It was a place where a team of missionaries had been giving out basic necessities, and they had just set up shower stalls. This was a supreme act of kindness to the Japanese stricken in this disaster. They need cleanliness. This is part of their culture. But they have not been able to take a bath or shower for about a month. I could not imagine what she felt, this 17-year-old girl felt, as the hot water washed over her for the first time in a month. I wondered if she could feel the waters at all, or what these waters meant and signified to her. As I was being driven back by my friend, who's a missionary, we went through the Fukushima prefecture, staying, of course, far west as possible from the nuclear power plants. In Fukushima, though, you can see the mountain range of Zao. and Zao Mountains appeared beyond the clouds. And you could see that the cherry blossoms were in full blossom. In between, enchanting the villages tucked away in the crevices between the mountains. It was so hard to reconcile between the reality of this disaster, reality of this devastation etched fresh in my mind, and knowing that still thousands were still unaccounted for. My heart felt numb. And the beauty of those mountain ranges and the cherry blossoms seemed even cruel to me. April is the cruelest month, breathing lilacs out of the dead ground, dead land, mixing memory and desire, stirring dull roots with spring rain. So begins The Wasteland by T.S. Eliot, which he wrote in 1922. April is the cruelest month. April is cruel with lilacs, or right now in Japan with cherry blossoms. At the highest realm of beauty, beauty invades our memory and desire of our war and tsunami-ravished hearts. We are awakened to horrors and terrors, but nature does not wait until we stop grieving. It moves on, as does the world, as does the media. Without empathy or knowledge of what really happened, my visit to Japan echoed this lament that T.S. Eliot spoke of, where beauty and trauma are forced to dwell together. Today, as you begin a new journey, and for you, this is a bright April morning, full of hope. But we must also remember that for many, April indeed has been the cruelest month. We must learn to engage with such interactable realities, to engage our creativity within the harsh confines of our broken world and the wide spaces of possibilities there of creating the world that ought to be. My paintings have become, over these many years, a lament, weaving in and out of our ground zero conditions into what Eliot called the still point of the turning world. I use traditional Japanese materials of Nihonga to paint with pulverized minerals, precious minerals, gold, silver, platinum. These extravagant materials themselves have to be pulverized, have to be pounded to become beautiful. It seems that the refiner's fire continues to burn, and we have no choice but to go through the process. And in such a journey, every ideology is tested and found wanting. Our faith in God, too, is tested. Zygmunt Bauman, a sociologist, noted that we live in a liquid modern time. Postmodernity, he notes, is not solid, but liquid, and constantly shifting. The old allegiances to solidify the things that we assumed in modernity are now replaced with uncertainties. Our foundations are shifting under us, literally. We have seen in recent times the solidity of our economic system collapse in front of us. We are now facing new questions in the security behind those nuclear power facilities. We're finding that in every sphere, in the arts, the sciences, businesses, and politics, there also has been this tsunami of sorts, paradigm shifts taking place. How many times have we heard the word unprecedented used in the media headlines today. Bauman writes this: "It would be imprudent to deny or even to play down the profound change in which the advent of fluid modernity has brought to the human condition. The remoteness and the unreachability of systemic structure, coupled with the unstructured, fluid state of immediate setting of life politics, change that condition in a radical way and call for rethinking of old concepts that used to frame its narratives. Like zombies, such concepts are totally simultaneously dead and alive. The practical question is whether their resurrection, albeit a new shape, or incarnation, is feasible. Or, if it is not, how to arrange for their decent and effective burial." Because of this uncertainty, because of this insecurity that we face, and lack of safety now in this liquid modern times, we will have to confront increased cynicism and despair in the days to come. The path of despair is what I'm afraid many Japanese will choose in the days, next years, to give up hope, to imbibe in this despair, and choose to end their lives. If we do not teach our children and ourselves that what we imagine and hope for, if we do not seek to define that elusive world that ought to be, then the culture of cynicism is going to define it for us. We are awash in apathy and terror. Thus, to create in these times, in these waters, we must have more than an optimist escapism. Today, to create is to have hope. Today, create is to live. You see, true art does not chase after novelty. It is instead a sensory quest toward the new order of what God is creating, toward this fully realized humanity. Using our senses, art poses deeper questions rather than giving easy answers. To be fully human in this liquid reality, we must redefine what culture of fear and cynicism will define their world that ought to be. The world that ought to be is not an utopia. It is instead created out of sacrificial love. To love is to quest for this world to come. To love is to endure and to use all of our senses. Love is generative and will create a stage for the new to appear. The role of an artist today in this liquid reality is to awaken all of our senses through creativity and love. Mary of Bethany, the quintessential artist, brought the extravagant knot to anoint Jesus in John 11. She transgressed against the cultural norms of her day. Her wedding perfume that she poured upon Jesus was the only earthly possession that Jesus brought to Calvary. That aroma anticipated what is to come. A sacrifice of love co-mingled with the aroma of the new. Aroma created a liquid reality that transcended the chaos, the darkness of Jesus' journey to Calvary. The aroma anticipated a wedding, just like we saw yesterday, a royal coronation, a royal wedding, a cosmic wedding. The best of the arts probes through our senses to the memory and desire, and it redefined the world to come, causing us to rise up like Lazarus, Mary's brother, from the dark tomb of cynicism and despair. My wife and I recently went to see a production of Our Town by Thornton Wilder at Barrow Street Theater in New York City. David Cromer, the founder of the theater, was the producer, and he played the narrator, famous role, magnificently. In this small theater on a spare, dark stage, the famed story of a small New England town was brought to life. One scene in particular stood out to me. It was when young Emily, who died giving birth, is caught somewhere between life and death, fighting to recover her memory. She is given the opportunity to move back in time to her 12th birthday. At this point, the stark colors of the small stage begin to change. And faintly, we in the audience begin to detect an aroma. At first, we think that it's a nearby restaurant cooking their dinner. But this aroma is not of dinner, but it's of breakfast. It's the aroma of bacon and eggs. And we're looking around and we realize that the producers had this surprise in store for us. The entire backstage opens up to reveal yet another stage. Filled with color and light, real bacon and eggs are being cooked by Emily's mother. Emily's memory, though fading away, is depicted as far more real than the reality of the main stage, or even the gravesite in which the other characters so stoically sit. Before Emily returns to her place of death, she is given, perhaps for the first time, a full experience of reality with a capital R, fully engaging our senses in the process. What if there is a reality behind the reality that we know? What if there is a stage behind the stage of our lives? What if our memory and desire points to a greater reality? What if Emily's liminal state can be reversed from death to life, at least in our audience's experience? The smell of the bacon is real and poses powerful questions about the nature of reality and nature of art. Of course, the effect on the audience is that we witness Emily's memories fading away, disappearing, and we're made to feel the coldness of earth. She settles comfortably into the graveyard with the others, losing herself in the process. This play is a lament as well of what is lost, what is being washed away. It is a comment on the modern condition that even before death, we are senseless, only half alive. For Emily, the memory fades, but for the audience, her memory has become a new reality, full of the aroma of the new. That is the power of the arts. The arts can remain a fresh experience, even though the memory and desires fade. So in our liquid time, art needs to become the aroma of bacon and eggs. It is not the art of the novel, but the art of the familiar that awakens our memory to the core essence of our lives, to the mornings of our 12th birthdays. With solid notions being washed away as new fears of our day creep into our consciousness every day, we must insist on reminding people that there is a stage behind the stage, a reality behind the reality. But instead of reminding people of the cold earth, we need to awaken the deposit of what is to come. There is a banquet waiting for us beyond the veil. If all is in a flux, our task is to touch the fragile earth with the promise of heaven. The gospel of Jesus makes this possible. Think of John chapter 21. In his post-resurrection glory, Jesus is cooking his post-resurrection breakfast. Think of the fish that he is cooking. Where did he get this fish? Did he simply create the fish at will, or cause it to jump right out of the lake onto his lap? And he's eating in his post-resurrection body. So was the fish resurrected as well? The aroma, you see, this invites this incredulous disciples to partake not only in a conversation, but to a meal. The aroma invites us to a new kingdom. This is the aroma of the new. What the producers of our town touched, perhaps unconsciously, was this chord of realization, a hunger that points to what is come. The world may call this the world that ought to be. C.S. Lewis called it Sehnsucht, a German word that can be translated as a longing. He stated in his essay, The Weight of Glory, for they, art and music, are not the thing in itself. They are only the scent of a flower we have not heard, the echo of a tune we have not, the scent of a flower that we have not found, the echo of a tune that we have not heard, news from a country we have never yet visited. I'm going to go a bit further than Lewis here. His friend J.R. Tolkien would have. I am convinced that art and music, while not the thing itself, contain the aroma, the actual aroma of the new. Artists, whether cognizant of Christ or not, detect this aroma. Bacon and eggs point to that reality. Therefore, graduates of Belhaven, you have already tasted the aroma of the new. When you dance, when you play your violin, when you sing, when you draw, what you see and what you hear and what you smell and touch, our senses invites us into the aroma of the new. The two worlds, the old and the new, are connected in the arts. Typically, we stop and think about such idealistic realities, enchantments, and say, we want to dismiss it by saying something like, well, that performance, that singing was glorious. But we must now return to reality and do something useful. Pragmatism will revert us, like Emily in our town, back to cold earth and deadened senses. The world that ought to be is already embedded in your senses. God's hand touches us even through the cold earth of death and despair, even though we are being swept away, washed away in the sea of liquid modernity. The gospel is an aroma, the aroma of the new, and the aroma will reach us even in the darkest despair. Tolkien wrote of such a world in The Lord of the Rings. Haldir says this, the world is indeed full of peril, and in it there are many dark places, but still there is much that is fair. And though in all lands love is mingled with grief, it grows perhaps the greater. Love, my friends, is today mingled with grief. and yet love grows greater. Create in and through that love. Calm the seas of your anxiety and infuse new life deep into the poisoned well of culture. Come and dance, play and paint upon your ground zero conditions. That is how we must love the world. Step into the receding waters filled with poison, but do it in faith. Then the stenches of death will be replaced by the aroma of the new. The stage behind the stage will open up. And instead of being forced to surrender to the cold earth, we will dance upon the waters, hear new sounds, and create new colors. Thank you very much.